The Los Angeles Clippers franchise now stands at the most critical crossroads in its modern history, staring down a dilemma born from colossal ambition and compounded by brutal reality. The once speculated plan to build a dynasty around Kawhi Leonard has collapsed into a vortex of losing records, financial entanglement, and existential doubt. The notion of trading Leonard, the very cornerstone they sold their future to acquire, is no longer a fringe theory, but a central question echoing through their front office. Oh wait, this isn't about a simple roster tweak. It's a fundamental reckoning with a failed project, where every potential path forward is fraught with significant pain and historical consequence. To grasp the gravity of this moment, one must first witness the sheer magnitude of the present disaster. The 2025 season has been an unmitigated catastrophe for the Clippers. Projected as a potential force in the Western Conference, they have instead crumbled, their record a stark testament to systemic failure. This is a team operating with a superstar's payroll, but delivering results beneath even the most modest expectations. The signing of a high-profile guard like Bradley Beal, intended to be a final masterstroke, backfired almost immediately due to a season-ending injury, symbolizing a campaign where nothing has gone right. The on-court product is a disjointed mess, a collection of expensive parts that fail to form a coherent whole, leaving them languishing with a win pace that mocks their financial commitments. The Clippers are investing tens of millions into a core that is delivering mediocrity. Kawhi Leonard's massive contract extension, a bet on his health, and elite production now looms as an anchor. James Harden's own sizable deal adds to the burden. This organization is pouring top-tier financial resources into a team that struggles to compete with franchises openly rebuilding. The disparity between investment and return has never been wider, creating a pressure cooker for decision makers. Every loss isn't just a game dropped in the standings. It's a glaring reminder of a sunk cost that reaches into the hundreds of millions. This dire situation is made infinitely more complex by the web of past decisions that now ensnares the franchise. The Clippers' master plan was always long-term, pegged to a future pivot point. The strategy was to weather the peaks and valleys of the Leonard George era, survive the draft capital sacrifices made to assemble this team, and then reset when major contracts expired. It was a chess move in a league often playing checkers. However, the 2025 season has delivered a knockout punch to that strategy far earlier than anticipated. The phrase about plans not surviving first contact with the enemy applies perfectly here. The reality of losing, of embarrassing a franchise icon like Chris Paul on his way out, and of becoming a league-wide punchline has forced an urgent, painful reassessment years ahead of schedule. The investigation into the franchise's financial dealings adds another layer of instability and reputational damage. When the owner and the franchise player are linked to off-court inquiries, it corrodes the foundation of the entire operation. It introduces uncertainty where stability is desperately needed and makes every transaction, every negotiation, subject to heightened scrutiny. This isn't just a basketball problem. It's an institutional crisis that management must navigate while simultaneously trying to salvage the on-court product. A nearly impossible dual mandate. When the internal discussion inevitably turns to a potential reset, the figure of Kawhi Leonard becomes the unavoidable focal point. The brutal, unsentimental truth is that trading Leonard is now an astronomically difficult task, bordering on the impossible for equal value. The league's perception of him has shifted fundamentally. This is no longer the 2019 Finals MVP, a risk worth a king's ransom. This is now viewed through the prism of a massive, long-term contract attached to a player with a significant injury history, whose peak years are arguably in the rear-view mirror. Under the NBA's stringent new financial apron rules, teams are extraordinarily cautious about absorbing such a financial monument. Executives now whisper that Leonard's contract may carry negative value, a phrase that signifies how far the mighty have fallen. The Clippers aren't looking at a treasure trove of assets in return. They are facing the prospect of paying to move him, of accepting pennies on the dollar just to escape the long-term commitment. This leads to the obvious alternative, trading James Harden instead. On the surface, it seems a cleaner solution. Harden has been relatively more available. His contract, while large, is shorter and less daunting than Leonard's marathon deal. For a contender seeking a scoring jolt or playmaking for a playoff push, Harden as a rental retains a certain logic. There are undoubtedly factions within the Clippers and whispers around the league that suggest pivoting away from Harden is the more pragmatic, less painful choice. It would represent an admission of error in the Harden acquisition, but allow them to cling to the original dream built around Leonard and Paul George. It is the path of least immediate resistance, a way to change the mix without fully confronting the core failure of their star-centric philosophy. It's out. However, the Clippers' predicament is uniquely cursed because even the classic blow-it-up option is effectively unavailable to them. This is the master complication that shackles their freedom. And the famous 2019 trade for Paul George, which brought Kawhi Leonard to Los Angeles, also handed the Oklahoma City Thunder control over the Clippers' future. Bullshit. OKC holds their unprotected first-round pick in 2026 and a pick swap right in 27. Furthermore, the subsequent deal for James Harden mortgaged even more of the future, sending unprotected 2028 first to Philadelphia and granting a 2029 swap. Sir. This means from 2026 through 2029, the Clippers do not have full, clean control of their own first-round draft destiny. The potential fruits of purposeful failure, high draft picks that facilitate a rebuild, would largely be harvested by Oklahoma City and Philadelphia. Tanking, therefore, is not a strategy but a form of charity for rival front offices. They are disincentivized from the very teardown that often follows a failed era, trapped in a competitive purgatory. Thus, the Clippers' choice is not between good and bad options. It is a selection between different forms of agony. One path is to double down on Kawhi Leonard to hope against recent history for one final, healthy, magical playoff run from a core that has repeatedly broken down. This means continuing to spend colossal sums for the privilege of being a first or second round exit at best, a prisoner of their own financial commitments and faded hopes. The other path is to trade Leonard for a minimal return, accepting the monumental embarrassment and the signal of total project failure, all without the cleansing reward of a top draft pick to build a new... It is a choice between maintaining an expensive, broken status quo or initiating a painful reset where the benefits are largely reaped by others. The front office, once praised for its savvy, now finds its reputation in tatters. The good guys in management are now being scrutinized for a series of cascading missteps. The grand vision has given way to a reality of loss, dysfunction, and limited exits. The question is no longer if this era has failed. The record screams that it has, but how the franchise navigates the wreckage. Do they remain loyal to the original, broken blueprint centered on Kawhi Leonard, or do they perform the painful surgery of moving him, even if the operation offers no guarantee of future health? The shoes of the decision-maker have never been heavier, for this choice will define the Los Angeles Clippers for the next decade. A decade for which they have already pawned away many of their most valuable tools for recovery.